Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Reina Creole, bringing you that spice to sci-fi and pop culture analysis. And no, your eyes aren't deceiving you. I usually do not stream on a Wednesday, but I kind of had the idea for this stream because after I saw Shang-Chi, I just basically I was too lazy to make a darn video. I really was. I didn't feel like doing it, and I thought about, what are some of the things that I like when I see a movie is to talk about it with some of my friends. So that's basically what these types of streams are about. They'll pop up, when I see a movie and I'm like, I don't feel like doing a proper review. Let me hang out, chat with my friends, and break it down and see how see what we all thought about it. Because sometimes your opinions can change when you talk with other people. Sometimes they don't change, but that exchange is always a lot of fun. You find out some things, that you didn't see, and some things that you really, really wish you hadn't seen, and your friends saw the same thing. So with that said, I'm going to bring up my amazing panel. I'm so glad these guys are agreed to be on because frankly, when it comes to things like movies and comics and martial arts, these are like my point guys to talk to. So we got just Reggie with us. We got Mark D with a C with us, and we have Clavern Times with us. How you guys doing?
Awesome.
Hey,
Thank you. Thanks
great.
for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for that nice intro. Yep. I like being called amazing. I need to hear that more. Yeah.
I call you that all the time, but it sounds better coming from Reina.
Yeah.
It's just different coming from me, right? That's okay. That's okay. I totally understand. Wow. Well, but like I said, I'm so glad, that you guys could join me. I always love chatting comics and all that with you guys, and I learned so much stuff when I talk to you guys. So before we get rolling here, please, folks, please do hit that like button and welcome to the show. And let's see who we have hanging out in the chat. I do know I did see a couple of comments before the stream started, and StreamYard kind of yeeted them, so I can't see them. I did get a new channel member, so I'm sorry I missed your name, but thank you so much for becoming a channel member. I'm gonna have to go back and check the list. So we have Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington, who says hello. Well, hello and hi to you all the way over there in the UK. I know it's really late where you are, so thanks so much for joining. We have Deviant Pork, who says hi, everyone. Another one of my European chat members here. Thank you so much for being here. Let's see. Apparently somebody has lots of heart and love for Shang-Chi. And we have Jens Petter, who says Shang-Chi actor is good at Kung Fu. Don't badmouth him, masculine action. Well, I'll give my opinion. Along with all the other guys on this panel. But I will say this: I will be fair. Probably a lot more fair than I would because I love kung fu movies. So I'm a little biased. Hello, Allie says, "Yay, more sushi talk." Soy chi talk. Well, we'll get into a little bit of
soy.
I got a couple things to say about that. Your girl was not happy about some of those things. And we have Nuanced Observer who says hello there. Well, hello to you too, Nuanced Observer. I love that avatar. I love Deadpool. So I'm trying to get Deadpool in all kinds of different incarnations. Let's see, and we have Zachariah 315 who says, howdy, Lorena, panel and chat. Well, hello to you, Zachariah. Glad you could join us. And we have Nikki D with that SpongeBob AVI. I love SpongeBob. Sailor Mouth is my favorite episode, actually. So good evening, all. She says, thank you. Deviant Porg, I'm a nitpicker. My brain runs like that. And that movie left me with a lot of questions. We're going to talk about all that. It is no Captain Marvel, so that's good. Somebody asked me, they said, well, how did you like it? I said, I'll watch it again before I watch Captain Marvel again. But I also said that about
Fair
Black
enough.
Widow too.
That's a low bar.
Yeah, very low bar.
That's a low one there. Yep.
That's a low bar. I'll get back to that ranking a little later on when we're talking. Dylan Campbell, hello, says, hey, Lorena and panel. At this point, Spider-Man No Way Home seems to be the only saving grace for the MCU. Tragic. What do you guys think about No Way Home? I have not watched any of the MCU Spider-Man movies. I've only seen Spider-Man 1 and 2 for Sam Raimi, and
Wow.
I did not want to see 3. No, I did, and I'm like, I freaking regret it. So I
you
said,
saw
no, I'm not
Civil-
watching anymore.
You saw Civil War though, right? So,
Yeah, I did see Civil War.
So that was probably the best Spidey in the MCU, I think. And after that, I don't want to speak for the panel, but it's just not Spider-Man to me. It's just not the same
Yeah,
Spider-Man. I
same
mean,
here.
I think
Iron Man Jr.
Thank you. I keep trying to explain that.
Iron Spider Boy, as I call him.
I mean, the actor is great, and the costume is just
he's
like
good.
Spider-Man's got to be, on his own, creating that web fluid, being a genius and having a hard knock life, and there are some troubles,
Trying to pull
but
stuff
it's just
together,
there's like bits,
broken.
there's bits and pieces there, but it's just not with that whole and substituting, having Tony Stark being a substitute father instead of later in the comics where in Civil War he gives him that arm, that armor, and he has it for a short period of time. Versus the way it's introduced, it's just missing that spark of Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think if he just would have
I
been
agree.
more independent instead of, Tony's like, oh, I got your scholarship. Oh, I got you this. Oh, I got you this. It kind of feels like he didn't earn that to me. And that's not the Peter Parker that I'm used to seeing in the comics that I did read and in, the cartoon show that I saw on television and in Sam Raimi's 1 and 2. It's just not the same guy. But I don't know. You guys looking forward to seeing that? Or
No.
kind of like it's there, not in her. Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm gonna see it for sure, just cause
Yeah.
I need to see what they do.
Yeah.
But my expectations aren't great.
Mhm.
It's a lot they have going on. I didn't like the first 2. I thought maybe the second one would be better than the first one. I feel they didn't improve on it at all. And this is like the Marvel flagship character, and it's like they're doing him a disservice. I mean, his movies are probably in the bottom end of my Marvel ranking.
Yeah.
Wow.
I agree. I'm just like, I'll watch it, see what happens. I'm kind of the same way. I'm just like, well,
Yeah, I don't have
like
a ton of excitement for it either.
I don't have a lot. I'm not much for this MCU iteration of Spidey. Like I said, he's better in Civil War and Infinity War and stuff like that. I like the
I
actor.
don't mind him in
He is-
those.
Yeah, but he's just not Spider. They don't, as Mark pointed it out very well. You just don't really capture the essence of Spider-Man when you hand him everything.
Yeah, he's not like, the loner, like, I work alone.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I'm not a team player, and he's, proud of that.
Right.
He's like, I'm not. Do my own thing.
Yeah, for years,
Exactly.
Spider-Man was never part of the Avengers. I remember reading issues as a kid where, like, maybe they were gonna have a tryout for Spider-Man to be in the Avengers, but he was always out of the Avengers. So, I mean, for Infinity War, I guess you could kind of make sense, like a world-ending thing. But he's just not to me. He's not an Avengers member, and never should be.
Yeah.
So, and looking back at the movies
comics for a while, but not. For
but it just doesn't, and took a while.
It wasn't
one-
a big,
much later.
Yeah.
I think the only time that I saw him with any kind of connection to the Avengers was like the one copy of Vision and the Scarlet Witch that I had. And I only got that because Spider-Man had the black suit on. That was it. And he went to go visit Wanda and, Scarlet Witch and Vision when she was pregnant with the twins. And that's when, they were talking about how much that they were getting from the Avengers. And that was just like the only brief connection that I saw. But we can go on about Spider-Man all day, because I promised I was going to actually get like 2 bottles of wine and probably something stronger and watch the MCU Spider-Man movies and see how long I last. Let's see. We have hello, Bosco Scenario says, "What is good, fine people?" Well, it's all good, all good. Glad you're here in the hood. We have Rogue Disney who says, "Howdy, y'all." Hello to you too. Glad you're here with us. 19 of you guys in here watching. Thank you so very much. Please do hit that like button. I appreciate that. Respectfully, Nikki D says, respectfully, Shang-Chi left a lot to be desired as a main character. We gonna get into all of this. And Black Superwoman, my fellow Slytherin sister and channel member, thank you so very much. I'm here for fake Bruce Lee. He's definitely not as hot as Bruce Lee.
Well, there's only one Bruce Lee. There'll only be one Bruce. So yeah.
This is true. Hey, Paulie says Reggie, my king. Excuse me, King Fu is better than you.
My old Paulie.
Hey, Paulie.
And there's your answer. Allie, no excitement for No Way Home. Yeah, No Way Home. I think the only part that got me a little excited was seeing Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. I did like that because I liked him in Spider-Man too.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be there opening night, and hopefully we'll get a great movie. But so far, I mean, there's been flashes like the scene with the Vulture in the car when he's driving Peter Parker to the prom. I thought that was a fantastic scene where he's figuring out his identity. Like, the actors are good. It's just that like
was great.
Like Stig is saying, is saying, Stig Kenobi's statement you'll get to, but Spidey's supposed to struggle, so that's 100% right. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Steve, how you doing? Yeah, I saw that. Lorena, my honey buddy, how are you today? I'm doing very well. Thank you so very much. Vikings are so flattering. You should see my download list on Audible of like Star Wars EU novels. And yes, we are going to have that show where we give that primer about if you want to get into the EU, kind of where to start, because there's so much out there in the EU. It's kind of like where do you start reading? So yeah, we definitely having you for on the show for that, Steve, so we can talk about that. Spider-Man is supposed to struggle with bills constantly, etc. A bit like Indiana Jones, one step forwards, two step back. Ish happened from all angles. That's how I remember it. I remember in the issue I had of like Vision and the Scarlet Witch, he took the photography gig because he needed the extra money. And when they were talking about working with the Avengers, he's just like, wow, that's tempting to be able to do that instead of having to, scratch and struggle. So yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Hey, Keely Chow, Roll Tide said, "What's going on? What's going on?" I'd watch Captain Marvel before I ever watched WandaVision. Still pissed about that. I understand. I'm pissed. I'm so pissed. Doctor Strange did not show up.
Yeah.
But
that was a terrible show.
I understand,
No.
but you can't get me to watch Captain Marvel. I understand the sentiment completely, because then when Doctor Strange did not show up, I wanted to kidnap some people. I was not happy about that. That's an understatement. Not happy. Happy I was. Hey, Tim Possible, how you doing? Glad you're here.
Hey, Tim.
Crispy Critters say Legend of the 10 Young Moments. It's interesting the gamut of reactions to this, and 32 flavors of Nick Weiser. Bruce Lee is a legend. You got that right,
Nick.
You got that absolutely right. Let's see. And we have Stunning and Brave Megatron. I prefer the Axel cut of Captain Marvel. The Axel cut?
I don't know what that means. Yep.
Does it mean like
Axel Foley?
Axel Foley? Yeah.
I guess so.
If it exists, I would love to see it. It'd be a lot better than what they put out.
I take Eddie Murphy as Captain Marvel,
Hey, the president, El Presidente of the Dark Council is here and says, unfortunately, I'm broke, but I had to support my guest, best gal and producer. Lorena, I hope you have a great stream with your awesome panel on the road right now. Oh, dude, you didn't have to do that. Thank you for being a channel member. Oh my gosh, folks, if you did not catch the Dark
Hail to the
Council,
chief.
please do watch the replay. It's over on Mark with the C, Gospel according to Mark with the C. It got hosted on his channel last night. We had some Shang-Chi discussion over there as well. So definitely do check that out. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's not Axel Braun. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Captain Marvel. Yeah, you don't want to show any clips from that.
Okay.
Oh
Yeah,
no, the Axel Braun.
Oh Lord. Oh my goodness. Woo.
No comment. No comment.
We'll let that slide. Well, folks, we have 24 of you amazing people in here watching. Please do hit that like button. We are basically talking about Shang-Chi because, I was too lazy to do a review. So I just grabbed my friends in here and we're going to just talk about the movie Shang-Chi. Now, before we actually get into the movie, my question was, who is this guy? I mean, I know there's comic book characters that I didn't hear of with respect to Marvel, but Shang-Chi I had never heard of. So can you guys enlighten me as to who this guy was or slash is, I guess if he's still in the comics, just who he is in the Marvel universe?
Well, he debuted somewhere around like 72 or 73 or something. And of course, unlike the subtitle to this film, he was the subtitle of his comic book was, it became his own series, was Master of Kung Fu. Shang-Chi, the Master of Kung Fu. Very much based not only visually, but, mainly, visually based on Bruce Lee. This guy looks about as much like Bruce Lee as never mind. But, he's based on Bruce Lee. And at the time, as you know, films were absolutely huge. He not only appeared in his regular comics, starting in, I think he first appeared in something called Marvel's Special Marvel Edition 15 or something like that. And
Number
then he
15.
Got his own, was it 15? Okay. Well, he got his own series later that they just took up the numbering. And he was also in Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, one of the Marvel Black and White Max. I mean, he was huge at that time. And what they did with him, however, is Marvel paid the Sax Rohmer estate, who wrote a series of, a series of novels over the past century about a character called Fu Manchu, the crime doctor as he was. And of course, they made film and many things like that. Marvel paid to sort of insert this character into their own lore and make him Shang-Chi's father. And Shang-Chi's origin in the comic is not really much to do with the film. Has very little to do with it. He was, when he sent him on his first mission to kill a man, because he was trained to be an assassin, of course, and a master of Kung Fu. Again, they never even say master of Kung Fu in the film, do they?
No.
He's sent to kill the very, very old and decrepit man, Sir Nayland Smith of Scotland Yard, who was always Fu Manchu's foil in the comic and the books. And of course, and in this one, he goes to kill this old man and he starts to do it. And, this man's dying on his deathbed, pretty weak. And he changes his mind and he becomes friends with him. And the man becomes his mentor throughout the comic. Shang-Chi, at this point, he has not lived in the real world. He is not, in this film, he's been there 10 years now. He doesn't know. He is fish out of water. He doesn't know. And in that comic, of course, remember, he exists in the Marvel universe, where there's superheroes running around and all that other kind of stuff. And yet, with no superpowers, he has his own adventures. Usually, he decides through the teachings of Nayland Smith that how bad his father really is, and decides to fight him to become the enemy of his father. And throughout, of course, just kick a lot of butt in a universe with superpowered beings, and yet he could hold his own, and he teamed up with other superheroes and things like that. And of course, because it's a superhero universe, they gave him the gear what he wears. They gave him certain colors to make it feel like he's a superhero, because in a sense he was, and it was kind of a redemption story. And I haven't read any of the comics in a long time, but if you ever go back to the most great art by Paul Gulacy on a lot of that run, the Jean Day issues are just amazing. It's a beautiful art. some of the best art you've seen back in the Bronze Age. It was a great time to be reading comics in that Bronze Age, and that was one of the best, most critically acclaimed and well-written comics out there by Doug Minch for a lot of that time. And again, Paul DeLacy art, Gene Day art, and great series. And it lasted for about 10 years before that it was canceled, and he kind of went into obscurity for a while, and they kind of, had since back, and think in the 2000s brought him back, but I never really read many of the things they've done with him since then.
Reggie, Mark, you guys see that?
As far as I never had any or read any of his individual issues. I knew him from when he teamed up with Power Man and Iron Fist. And I think there was like a Spider-Man team up that he was a guest in, and that was it. Like I literally read 3 books that had the character in it, and he definitely struck me as a Bruce Lee archetype. So. I didn't have a lot of knowledge. I didn't necessarily want a lot because I didn't want that to cloud my experience with the film going in, because I had a good feeling like, this 70s era character was going to have some major deviations once they bring him to the silver screen. So, but before I'll leave my comments at that for now.
Okay, cool. Mark?
Yeah, so I've read only a few comics too as a kid. I remember my grandfather used to bring me comics, probably like a lot of kids out there. So I had like 4 or 5 Shang-Chi issues, and I went back and read a couple of the first issues last night. And there's a little bit of the character there in terms of the theme, in terms of his dad is a bad guy, but like Clobberin Times is saying, it's really, not the same character. So when you look at the art, I was flipping through some of the issues. It's, gorgeous art, but the comic ended in 83. So it was 73 to 83. I'm looking at my list here. And then they brought the character back, but like, Reggie's saying, it was kind of an invisible character. And all the comics I've read, he kind of disappeared for a while, I think. So, but yeah, so it's not, I think too, we were talking before the show, they're trying to make this movie, make money and have a popular character. So, we're talking about a lot of times they don't pick up all those nuances on the character, or they totally just wipe out and just start from scratch, and it's a character and name only with some of the themes. So you've got those, like we're talking about with Spider-Man changing, his story. It's still Peter Parker, but there's, vast differences. So, and I think most people don't even know who, don't really know much about this character too. So they probably felt like they could change the character up even more, and they don't want to use Fu Manchu anymore for obvious reasons. So they want to stay away from that. So, and then there's a whole other China issue. It's not opening in China, so we can talk about that later if you want to discuss that too.
Oh yeah, we gonna talk about that, because I saw a couple of things that I just said, no wonder China has not approved this movie. I don't think they really got there. But Nikki D, thank you so very much for the super sticker. It's the little teal guy saying, keep it up, pump and iron, keep it up. Well, thank you so very much for that, my dear. I so appreciate it. I appreciate all the support. Let's see. Deviant Porg says, in one of the recent series, you learn, in fact, his father created different schools. Shang-Chi was in the school of the hand, but there's also a school of the spear, a school of the blade, etc., and so on. Okay. See, that's kind of like the mysticism that I thought that I was gonna see in this movie, because I didn't know anything about this character, hadn't seen him before. I just kind of felt like I expected to see a bit more. I don't know. I guess just from what I've seen in the Kung Fu movies, just a little bit more of that mysticism, and I kind of didn't. It just kind of like missed me a little bit, but
I think you got a little bit from the mom training the son and some of those flashback scenes, but not a huge, not a huge part of the movie. And you do get flashback training scenes to kind of show how he was trained as an assassin. So they had that in there at least. But I like the mom in the movie. I thought she was a good
she
actress.
was cool. She was
cool, and I love that. I don't know how much we want to get into spoilers or not spoilers, but her one of her scenes was
getting into it by now.
All right, yeah, okay, yeah.
You ain't seen it by now. Too bad.
But I mean, I thought she was really beautiful in that last scene where she's taking a stand against, the criminal gang that's coming to, take
Mhm.
revenge. And then when she does that leg sweep, and just like the
That
original,
was cool
that
in the
was
snow.
in the snow, yeah, getting ready to fight. It's like don't mess with the mama bear, right? Trying to protect her kids. So
Mhm.
those moments in the movie. There's some moments in this movie I really liked. So and that was one of them. So
Yeah, it was cool. I just kind of felt like I just wanted more of those, but that's just me. That's just me being greedy.
yeah.
But anyway, okay, so first impressions of the film. I want to say probably the first couple of minutes before we see who Shang-Chi actually grows up to wind up doing. What were your impressions of that opening scene?
Who wants to go first?
Go for it, Mark.
I,
I really want to.
oh well, yeah, I'll
You
take
go,
a stab.
Reggie. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it hooked me pretty early. I mean, the flashback scenes with the battle, when he goes out and he uses the rings to deflect all those arrows, that was really cool. He just decimates that army. Then they get to the point where he goes to um, I'm forgetting the name of the city. Uh, what is it? Tung Lao.
Oh, it's Tao Lao. I'm thinking.
Tao Lao.
Kung
Thank
Lao.
you.
I
Yeah.
think, or is that it?
Tao
Yeah.
Lao.
Talau.
I
Just
was losing it.
call it Brigadoon. That's how I remember.
So that entire sequence where he fights, sort of dance fights against Shang's mom, was reminding me a lot of Hero with Jet Li, where it's really poetic. It has this beautiful flow to it. The cinematography, composition, colors, just really, really visually stimulating. And it was really good. I was like, okay, Marvel, all right, you can do some wuxia pretty well. They exceeded my expectations to that point. So with that, up until that point in the runtime, I was very much into the movie.
I agree. Yeah, I love that open. It's kind of Lord of the Ring esque, when they're showing the flashback, and the tagline I think was his father's the Mandarin. You don't know he's called the Mandarin then, but he could have used the 10 rings for good, but he chose what was the quote, like acquisition, or basically to become rich or become powerful, and that's that scene that Reggie described where he wipes out the village, and then that dance scene was incredible because they start out fighting. And you could see the spark between the two actors and that smile and that glimmer. And you could see the attraction there. So it was a genuine attraction coming across the screen. And it was just a beautiful scene. He comes back with a picnic basket to try to woo her over. I guess who knows when that was, or how many people died in the caravan trying to get there. But the whole idea that Hidden City was kind of cool. I like that, like a Wakanda maybe, or a hidden mystic village. Fit that martial arts mysticism basically. So I thought the opening did suck you in, and plus I'm haven't been to that many movies lately, so I'm sitting in the movie theater. I got my popcorn and Reese's Pieces, which I shouldn't be eating, but just being on that big screen and getting the hell out of the house gives it a few more points too. But
Yeah, Clavern, what about you?
Well, I don't know. Again, the whole time I was kind of just, from kind of the whole time I was just kind of sitting there, not really. It took me a while. I don't know. I really didn't get into the film that much any of the time, and even at that opening point, I'm kind of just seems like a bunch of stuff we've seen already. We've seen before. It's not really grabbing me that much when its opening sequences are pretty good. They're well done and everything, and then I think the film kind of loses me as soon as we get to the main lead. And he didn't engage me in any way, and I didn't like anyone else really that much in the film. I mean, there's no one. And if a film doesn't get me interested in anyone, I kind of get checked out kind of early, and I just don't think this thing was very well written, and I don't think any of the characters were particularly strong. So right away, I was in a little bit of trouble there. Personally.
I liked the cinematography of the open. kind of liked how they kind of courtship dance, because that's pretty much what it turned out to be.
Right.
So I thought that was really cool how they did that part. I do think that they took a little too long explaining everything with English subtitles, and I kind of felt, when I saw that, I felt like this film was not made for me. That's kind of the impression that I got. If I'm watching, like, say, I'm watching season 5 of My Hero Academia, all right, so that's obviously for Japanese audiences. So I know that going in, I'm going to see the English subtitles. I expect that. But when it opened like this, and it stayed that way, it wasn't for like a minute, it wasn't for like 2 minutes, because I've seen that done in other movies where you'll hear the native language and then you'll see the English subtitles, but it doesn't stay that way. If they would have dropped out eventually and kind of had like Shang-Chi when he was younger, like maybe him speaking in English and his mother still continuing to speak, I believe it's in Mandarin. At least I felt like, as an American, that was made for an American audience. But it seemed like for me, the subtitles just seemed to go a little too long for me.
Do you think they did that for the Chinese audience, maybe, or the Chinese market?
That's my impression.
No,
because I've never seen one that long with subtitles.
I always watch movies with subtitles now anyway, so because my hearing's going. So
yeah, I do, like, for the hearing impaired. But anytime it's like, if I watch a foreign film with English subtitles, that's what I expect, because the film is done in the native language. But if you're making an American film, and then you start out with the first 5 to 10 minutes all in Mandarin Chinese with English subtitles, that just kind of made me feel like a stranger in my own movie, sort of.
Well, I think they're really hoping to open in China. So you see all these the movie production companies, like you had the example where they're doing Red Dawn, the remake, and they changed it from China to North Korea. Taiwan has now been taken off the jacket of Tom Cruise in the Top Gun sequel. And then years ago, you had, when they made the movie about Tibet with Richard Gere, basically, China told Disney they had a meeting with the head of Disney and said, they tried to smooth things over and said, oh, we promise not to do anything like this again. So, I mean, that's, a separate issue, but you're seeing, they want the Hollywood studios need this Chinese market, they feel, to make money now, especially with what's happening in the world, and they need the viewers. So, you wonder what they change and what they do to, look at the, in Doctor Strange, they didn't have a Tibetan monk as, they switch that character
as the
around.
ancient one, because that's what I would have expected, and I didn't. That kind of threw me off.
Well, they can't do that though, right? They can't have that now.
No. Nah. Reggie, looks like you had a comment. Or am I reading it wrong?
No, I'll wait. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts, but I'll wait till we get on a little further.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deviant Fork says the movie is clearly made for China. See how the father mocks the USA during dinner. Yeah, I did notice. I did notice that. I noticed that. Although I found it interesting when, she's like, my name is Katie. And he says, well, what's your Chinese name? And I had to think a bit, because I've had, I have friends from school who are Chinese, or people that I worked with, where they would have this American name. And I'm like, what's your real name? I said, I'm not trying to be rude, but I like to call people what you were named. So I'm like, what's your Chinese name? And they'd say, what their Chinese name is. So I just thought that was interesting that he brought that up. But it wasn't unexpected, because when they went to the Fight Club, and one guy, he was speaking in Mandarin Chinese, and they're just like, no, I don't speak that. I said, oh, okay, cool, I speak ABC.
Yep.
You know what ABC is, right? American born Chinese. I had some friends who were just like, you call somebody ABC, it's time to fight.
Yeah, like a buddy would go into restaurants all the time, and he was Asian, and they'd start talking to him in Mandarin. He's like, I don't speak, I've got to order in English. Sorry.
Oh, Tony. Yes, Tony Leung. Thank you very much, Latino Snap. No, I'm not being disrespectful when I said that, right? Okay. Yes, Tony Leung. I actually
he was
did.
good.
He was good. He was good. I liked the dad. I
Yes,
liked
he was a
Michelle
really good
Yeoh's
actor.
character. Michelle Yeoh, honestly, was the only like human character I really, really cared about. I'm like, please don't let this chick die. It's further on in the movie because she's the aunt. She's
Right.
amazing.
I agree with
She's
that.
amazing.
She's the only character that I really.
I like Katie
Good
too.
about
Don't
that.
throw pies at me, but I like that comic relief. So
Pie on the way. Pie incoming.
Well,
coming.
yeah, pie ain't coming. Because and I'll tell you why, and this is just me. It kind of goes with that trope of the like nerdy girl, which I don't mind, but it's just irritating. It's kind of like Darcy. And
We've seen it too much.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We've seen it way too much.
We've seen it too much.
yeah, I liked her, but I can see where it's over.
It's a
I thought
Marvel
it
movie
was
trope.
Yeah, it's kind
Yeah.
of, but she's supposed to be our eyes into the character, so that but that does get overused. But I love the bus scene. I thought was phenomenal, and when she sees him kick ass on the bus, and then she's like, "Wait, who are you? I didn't know." That I thought was a nice opening to the film. So
Well, let's actually talk about that part a little bit. Honestly, I think if they would have cast anyone but Awkwafina, it probably wouldn't have bothered me as much. But she just kind of
she graded on you, probably.
yes.
See, I never knew her before this movie, so I guess she's a comedian that.
Here's the thing, though. Awkwafina is a very much toned down version of herself in this movie. I mean, if you saw like
That's scary.
let's
That's
see,
scary.
no, it is. It's totally true. I mean, she's always on 11. It's like, like B-boy New York hip hop accent all the time. Wisecracks nonstop. What she was. What was the other movie? Jumanji 2 she was in. She was like, oh gosh.
Okay, now see, she didn't irritate me in that.
I watched that. What character was she? I forget now.
Wasn't that the character he thought he was going to come back as the Rock's character, but instead came back as like this thief, and it was Awkwafina. Now that actually fit. That didn't bother me for some reason. I can't explain why. I think because it fit the neurosis of the original character. So I think that's why it didn't bother me. But in this case, I was just like, man.
So you didn't see Ocean's 8 then?
No.
Okay. Yeah, she's in that too. She's in that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, but speaking of the bus, let's get into that bus scene, which was kind of reminded me of Jackie Chan meets Speed.
Yeah, that's a good description. Yeah, of course, Jackie Chan's incredible, but I mean, I thought the trailers didn't really help the movie in terms of showing that bus scene. So if everyone's seen that double kick, which is a cool kick, and then then the bus scene goes, starts, it's another half that's like. Basically then you have another, huge action sequence. And I love the YouTuber on the bus who was like, I took a little bit of martial arts. I'm going to grade this fight here right now. I'm on, whatever bus. And he's giving the play-by-play. I thought that was hysterical on the, because that's what would happen today, right? People unfortunately like pull out their phone before, not that I would, want to get in a fight with, razor blade, but people, with the guy with the cell phone, he's going live on YouTube, like giving the play. But that's what would happen today, right? So
Totally what would happen. I was just wow, he's in the right place at the right time. That's just what I thought.
Yeah.
And I thought the action and the when he's the action, and then I always love that reveal. Or one of my favorite things is like when a superhero is undercover and he can't give away his identity, but he's got to do something to save someone. Of course, he doesn't have a secret identity, but when Awkwafina is just like wow, you know kung fu. How do you know kung fu? And some of the choreography I thought was really good, and the bus going down the hill, and she's hysterical and running over all the cars, and kind of like a Speed, take on Speed. But I thought it was a fun, great popcorn, scene in a movie. And then Razor Fist come, of course it's not the exact Razor Fist, but he's got that blade that pops out, and then
Right.
and they're after the necklace or the gem that somehow is going to lead them to the mystical village. So I thought that was a cool scene. I thought it was really well done and kind of got me into the movies. I wasn't expecting much from this movie at all. I thought the trailers didn't get me excited about it, and I said, wow, that scene was really, really good. I love that. I love the bus scene. I know you guys thought about it, but
I liked it. That was one of the stronger moments of the movie, I think, for me. The choreography, the performance of the choreography were all well done, both well done, and it was just pure, it was gas, man. It was just pure entertainment, done the right way. I was still at that point, carrying on from how I felt from the earlier scenes, thought, okay, Marvel's really going for it here. So, and I was really in. I thought I thought it was a little bit long. I was like, okay, these guys, are continuing to get up. Just go. Let's go with the, maybe not a finishing move, but something. That was my probably only complaint about it, but I thought that was really strongly done, particularly for Marvel and an MCU film. One of the best fight scenes we've had in terms of actual human fighting, kinetic fighting in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to date.
Yeah, that first punch when he just pulls back not that far, boom.
Yeah,
and he just then the guy goes flying. You're like, and everyone was like, "Whoa!" Where did this punch go? And that's how martial arts. You're not going to take a big wind up or do a triple roundhouse flip kick, which they could have done. He started the fight with just a short pullback and a quick punch, which I thought was nice. And like you said, Reggie, the choreography of like he's going through the where you store the luggage and he's flipping and spinning around, and it was all. And you could follow the fight too, which a lot of times you see the fights are like chopped up in a couple of 3-second bits, but you could follow this fight and cheer for the character, and the people on the bus are cheering for him a little bit like this, not as good as this Spider-Man subway from number 2, Spider-Man 2, but a little bit along those lines of saving the people. And he's like when he's got, you'll know the signal, and he's like, everyone get to the front of the bus, and they separate the bus in half. That was a nice human moment, and the stunts were really well done.
Clobberin, what did you think of the bus scene?
Yeah, it was a goofy, fun scene. I mean, you have to keep yourself from asking why are these guys so stupid as to attack anyone, especially when they know who he is, on the bus when they're just in as big a jeopardy as anyone else, because you're in a moving bus. If you screw things up, you're in trouble as well. Forget about that for a second and just, kind of, I thought it was fairly entertaining. I have to admit that was a pretty fun scene. So, yeah, I had no problem with it. It was, that's what you're supposed to be in a Marvel movie. You're supposed to be kind of just having a little fun. So, yeah, well done. Yeah. Very well done scene.
Yeah, I really did like that. I like that they kind of incorporated the, element from like Speed. You could see like a couple callbacks to like Jackie Chan movies, and the tension was done really well, because things went from bad to worse to holy crap and they kept ratcheting up, because it's like you had the action of the bus, you had the perils of where exactly they were going, and then you have what's happening in the bus itself. So there's like 3 different levels that you're kind of trying to keep track of. So I thought that was a really fun scene, and probably the most entertaining scene for me of the movie. And I have to say, after that, it's like I couldn't tell if this was supposed to be a Marvel movie, if this was supposed to be a so kind of kung fu movie, because they get over to Macau, right? They meet his sister. Why does it seem that his sister is better trained than he is?
M, and then there's C, and this being she. I mean, then there's you. Never mind.
I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it, but I was gonna let you guys say it. Yeah, complete with the kicking them square in the
Complete crap.
nuts.
Well,
Of
that
course,
plus
yes.
the Abomination was total fan service. And why is Abomination and Wong? Why are they
Yeah.
fighting for money? And then at the end, they're talking to each other like they're buddies. So
Yeah.
Abomination's
Yeah,
a
it's a
good
scam,
guy
I
now,
guess.
and they're scamming all the bettors for I mean, it was a fun scene to watch. When you watch the scene and Wong casts a teleportation spell, so Abomination knocks himself out.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but then they're
Yeah, it was
talking
fun.
to the
That
end.
was
It's like that was fun. It's like, but wait, they can't be friends. So it's that was kind of crazy. But Wong had some good moments in the movie. I
Right.
thought, yeah.
Now, maybe you guys
I
can
like
school me. I mean, does his sister actually exist, or was that an invented character?
Was as if I were, again, bad memory, has been a long time since I've read them. She acted part and parcel with Fu Manchu having a daughter, and they put her in the comics for a while, and then obviously probably has a different name now. I can't remember, but I know she was at some point in comics. So Fu Manchu had a daughter, so yeah, it is kind of taken from comics a bit. They probably changed her name though. I can't remember what the name was.
Okay.
Well, I kind of get a Ra's al Ghul vibe if people are more familiar with Batman and that mythos there, and Talia, and the League of Assassins. So kind of copying that a little bit in a way in this movie. So I don't know how much of that's in the Fu Manchu is obviously a henchman or a bad guy in the comics, but if you're not familiar with him, that's the closest thing that I could think of. In the comics, she was trained. Talia was trained. One of the most deadly assassins in the world. So
yes, she was. Talia al Ghul was.
Yeah. So they always rank the
a little bit.
Yeah. So, and plus she's been running that Fight Club for 5 years, maybe. So maybe she's had to kick ass more lately. I don't know.
I guess, but I just didn't like how that just didn't sit very well with me. It seemed to, well, not seem to, it did in my eyes, kind of like emasculate Shang-Chi. It's like, why did it even have to go down that way? Why couldn't it have ended in a draw?
Yeah.
Or if he purposely said, okay, I'm going to throw this because I do not want to freaking fight you. But I just thought that it was a low blow that she winds up kicking him in the nuts. And sorry, that they could have done without that part.
Yeah, sister wouldn't have done that, I don't think. Although she hates him for abandoning him, though. So that's So, but yeah, there could have been done a different way. And then I like how they had him sign the contract and he had to fight. So that was kind of funny. When he gets in, he thinks he's finding her. But I guess it's like, how much do you read into it? How much is part of the movie or part of the character? Like, but yeah, the kick to the balls wasn't so. I don't know, but I guess she hates his guts. So
yeah, and that's kind of like my thing with Black Superwoman is getting to. They've been kicking male heroes in the nuts for a while now. If that hadn't happened and this just came out of nowhere, I probably would not have thought twice about it.
Well, I think we think about
Disney's been doing that for a while. Remember Loki? The show and all that stuff. They've been doing that for a while now. So part and parcel with what's going on with the MCU.
And I think we look into things too, like 20 years ago when we were seeing a movie like this, we wouldn't look for that, or maybe it would gloss it over. There's always been, there's always, like Clyber and I have talked before. There's always, quote unquote agenda or a point of view, whatever you want to call it. And maybe it was smaller in the past, but now we really focus on things that we see. So for good or bad, like in Captain Marvel. Oh, sorry, I said the name. I love the Fantastic Four and what they did to the Skrulls. It's like, how could you ruin the Skrulls as a and have them as refugees, just to quote unquote maybe say the treatment of refugees today isn't right, which there's a lot of other ways you could do that by instead of turning the Skrulls into cosmic refugees and not being the bad guys, and so you wreck them as a villain in the Marvel universe. I mean, unless they're going to somehow retcon it, but things like that where maybe if I had seen that, I would just, why did you do that to the Skrulls? Versus you can see maybe some of the machinations in the background that you're picking up on.
Yeah, my main thing was like it made Shang redundant. It's like, okay, you have a sister who's, I know he really, he doesn't actually try to fight her, but they make it almost seem as if he's got this sister who's just better and badder anyway. Like, why do we need his heroics if we can just, hey, we can have this sister who's already, over here in this area.
The part that I did like, Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead, Mike. No, go
I
ahead,
was gonna say,
Cloburn. Go ahead.
Well, and he received all this training all his life. She, again, they had to make it even double down on the kick by having her later explain that she was not allowed to train, but she just watched from afar and learned and did it better than everybody. It's just, good.
Yeah, no, it's like you didn't have oh God, I'm so blank on it. This is awful. You don't have Tony Leung's character basically saying, hey, having a son trained by the assassin, because you kept seeing that montage where Shang-Chi is
Right.
trained and that same assassin just keeps kicking his ass, marks him on his chin just to make him remember that's how you freaking failed against me. And he's been training like that for years. And you mean to tell me just from watching from afar, his sister could get to that kind of level?
Yeah, that didn't make sense. Yeah.
And that guy who plays that character, the Death Dealer, really talented martial arts. Yeah, he's there's a movie that it's on Netflix right now called The Paper Tigers. He's one of the main characters in that.
I heard that Paper Tigers movies is fantastic. So you did,
really good martial arts comedy.
Yeah, I gotta watch that. Yeah.
Because you could just see just by his movements that he was no joke. I mean, I loved seeing him. That's any scene that he was in. Good. I love seeing him.
He was a scared character. Yeah, he was good.
Mm-hmm. It's like
I did like the part of going to try to save the sister, because he knows that the Mandarin or his dad is going to go for her next, even though he felt like he abandoned his family and he's in hiding on the run. He did go to save. And the scaffolding scene I thought was another great action scene, and when the sister kind of swoops in at the end to save Katie and save him. So a couple of ways to look at that. It's like Princess Leia and the Death Star says, what kind of rescue is this, you guys? Give me the blaster, someone's gonna take charge here. So I mean, you can have that in a movie if it's done well. And I did like the action on the scaffolding. I thought that was pretty cool, but maybe she maybe you could say she's a little overpowered, or why did she suddenly change her mind to help him? But I thought that was a cool motivation for having sisters myself. That's and like in Star Wars, that's the motivation for Luke to take out Darth Vader when he's like, there is another, and then that's when the music ramps up and he really says, you're not gonna, over my dead body, you're gonna hurt Leia. So
right.
I like that motivation for a character.
Right. Stephen Yarno makes a good point. Plus, they should have shown us the fight he had with his mother's killer. Not tell us. Show, not tell.
Yeah. Well, that's a big switch, big change in the character too. So, Clyburn, you want to talk about that, or in terms of the in the movie, he's sent as an assassin. In the comic, like you mentioned before, he's sent to assassinate his dad's deadly nemesis, and he becomes his mentor. In the movie, he actually goes through with it and kills his mother's killers. So on the one hand, I can kind of say, well, I could see if someone killed my mom, would I take them out or would take the higher road? Right. So it's not not the equivalence, but it is
it's not the same thing. This guy killed his mother.
Yeah, like Daredevil doesn't kill. In the Daredevil movie, they had him, leave the guy, have the guy get run over on the train. So, so that's, Shang-Chi doesn't have it's not like Batman where he said he's a kill, but that's a big deviation in the character.
And that's why it's so much better in the original origin, where he's not out. This is not like he's going after someone who killed his mother or something like that. He's just trained to kill, kept out of normal civilization all of his life, then sent out to murder someone he doesn't even know, and it's just a frail old man, and that's what changes him. You don't have the extra baggage of it being revenge or motivated or anything like that. Revenge for Fu Manchu, yeah, but not revenge for Shang-Chi personally. And so it's quite totally different things, both of them.
Yeah, because he kills the guy and then he doesn't go back to his dad. So he goes to run. So the whole movie, they're making it seem like he couldn't go through with it and, took the higher road, whatever you want to call it. Right. And said, I'm going to avoid it. But he actually killed the guy and then went on the road. So which kind of, he knew, maybe I guess he knew his dad was evil, but, he was going to do that anyway. So I don't know. That was a conflict for me on the character. I didn't like.
Well, I know what one of the before I get to the martial arts question, one of the things about this movie that I found myself, besides Michelle Yeoh's character, it's like I just could not get emotionally invested in any of the main characters. And to me, that's very strange because with a lot of kung fu movies that I see, take the MCU out of it, with a lot of the kung fu movies that I see, it's like I get emotional buy-in very quickly. Usually the stories are written very well, the action's written very well, whether, you know, someone's master winds up getting killed and they're out for revenge or something that happens. The way that it's written, I start to care very quickly about what happens to the main character. I didn't feel like I cared about what was going to happen to Shang-Chi. I didn't feel that I cared about what happened to Katie. Like I said, the only time I really started to worry was when I saw Michelle Yeoh's character. And maybe that has more to do with her presence as an actress than anything else. But I got emotional buy-in into her. But outside of her, I cared about that weird looking thing with the two butts that looked like a footstool and had wings. That the dragon was kick-ass. I loved that daggone dragon. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. The CGI, that was beautiful. The lions that were walking around, they reminded me of the ones that I would see from, like, you know, the Chinese New Year puppets that they would have, like the big, you know, I called them a lions because they looked real. Yeah, because I think they were lions. Yeah, I think they were lions.
Yeah.
But the CGI on them were gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was like mythical and gorgeous, and it was great. And it's kind of strange how I felt more of an emotional buy-in to the mythical creatures that were in there than I did the humans. So I guess I want to ask you guys, how much of a buy-in did you guys feel for the main characters or any of the other characters in this film?
For me, virtually none. Like I said, I like the Michelle Yeoh character. And I do like, obviously, it was kind of fun to look at some of the beings that you're mentioning. Now, the dragon, I don't know if that dragon is, people keep saying it's Fin Fang Foom. It's not. That may be Marvel.
Ooh, who's that
version?
Who's Fin Fang Foom? Who's that?
Well, a few geeks have said something like that. Dragon was supposed to be Fin Fang Foom. That's a very famous Marvel, quote unquote, monster. A dragon. Well, he was an alien that landed in ancient China, and he was injured. He was a shapeshifter, just happened to look like a dragon. He became sort of worshipped and feared as this dragon. He was kind of a sort of a Marvel villain, if you will. People kept saying when the trailer's coming out, oh my God, it's Fin Fang Foom. Well, it might be with these movies, you never know, but at least they didn't call him that. And he did look kind of cool, but he didn't look anything like Fin Fang Foom.
No,
which is okay though. Yeah,
which is fine. Yeah. Saying that but they even gave, I don't know, they've even made it kind of, I don't know, they've even kind of tried to allude that he might be, but he's not. For those who even care about Fin Fang Foom, sorry.
Well, yeah, I thought I like Katie. I'm getting pies thrown at me, I'm sure, but I like that character. I like that, and maybe I haven't seen enough of her, but I thought that was a fun window into, that's supposed to be us, I guess, watching the character go through his travels. Shang-Chi, the guy was kind of bland, I have to say, but I don't know if that was if that was on purpose or if it's the actor, or, he didn't have charisma that lit up the screen. Like, the first time you saw Hugh Jackman, you knew, oh, this guy's going to be a star. He had that spark. So I didn't get that from him. I thought all the other actors were really well done. And God, Ben Kingsley, that scene with Trevor Slattery, I know people, are pissed off about what happened to the Mandarin, but that's just a stare, in terms of him being the fake Mandarin. And he comes out and Murray rolls out. He said, you guys can see him too. I thought it was crazy, So Murray was, Murray's the character to try to sell merchandise, I guess.
Yeah,
but that was that was fun.
Headless footstool with wings.
That
was trippy.
but Slattery, I mean, he's just so good. Ben Kingsley, he just chews up the scenery. He's like, he was going to kill me, but then I went into Shakespeare, and he said, well, maybe you could live another day, kind of like the Dread Pirate Roberts. To to him, like, I won't kill you today. So his character is fun, and I thought Michelle Yeoh was just phenomenal. I mean. She's just an incredible actress, and I didn't. But I think that's one of the criticisms of the lead. I don't know if it's the writing of the movie or him, but he doesn't strike me as that breakout star. God bless him. Wish everyone success, but he doesn't seem like he's that. And I think that's why maybe Aquafina or Katie kind of amps up. That gives you the energy in the scenes because she's like Reggie said, always on 11. So I think that's maybe by design, or that's why they had her in the movie.
Yeah.
There's a gosh, I'm just trying to think of how I'm going to approach it because there's a few problems and there's reasons why you guys feel that way.
Okay.
And I think a lot of them don't have to do with Simu so much as just the writing. I think the first problem is they made Tony Leung just way too sympathetic of a villain. He captures Shang, his sisters. They capture Katie. They're comfortable. They're not getting tortured. They're not in chains. They have a nice family dinner and tea.
They have
it's
rooms.
There's no tension in that entire process. And you sympathize, like, here's a man who wants to get reunited with the love of his life. The thing that he cared about most, despite being centuries old and, ruling, basically conquering the world at some point.
Right.
So you feel for that. So he's just way too sympathetic. You do see him do some stuff. He's a physical threat, but you don't feel that towards Shang-Chi at all. It's just like, he might smack him around a little bit, but his life isn't on the line. We don't understand that him trying to break this wall is the threat it is until it happens deep into the third act. So we have nothing. We don't have that tension to carry us, that momentum, from the second act through the end. So that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
The arc for Shang-Chi is, making peace with who he is and not downplaying himself and making peace with both his mother's lineage and his father's lineage. And it's only talked about. It's only, there's nothing that they show us in the beginning, middle, and end that really demonstrates that was a problem for him and what he did to overcome it.
Right.
So those elements just aren't explicit enough on the screen in the story for us to really draw into his character and his issues. I'll say it. Yeah, I think that's enough about that. Yeah.
No, that's absolutely a great point. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I was just gonna say, you know what, Clobber, why don't you finish your point before I say anything?
No, I was just going to say there's other than with the father and a few other bits and pieces, very, very little character development in the film at all, in the script. There's very little to latch onto with any of the characters for me.
And I would have to agree. It seemed very superficial. Like when we're talking about Tony Leung's character. If he was the big bad, usually a movie like this is only as good as its villain. And to me, he wasn't big enough of a big bad, like Reggie was saying, it's just too sympathetic. It's like you want your villain to seem that he's invincible. You know that he's not, because the hero is supposed to find that and overcome that, but
yeah.
He just, I didn't buy in that he was, that he was the big bad in all of this. But I think that also plays to the writing. I really don't think that the writing did a good job of showing us these characters. Well, they told more than showed, which is, I think, is another error. They just didn't go deep enough with these characters to make us care, like give enough exposition to why we should care about these characters. And I don't know if it's because they thought, hey, we need to get a film out like this right away, and they kind of like half-assed it and put it out there, kind of like with WandaVision, or what. And it's a shame because they had a really good. You have a semi built-in audience here. people who love kung fu movies, I'm just speaking in generality. If it looks like a good kung fu movie, we're gonna put butts in seats and go, and go see it. And you had that base, and you could have taken that base and put it in with, the comics and come up with something really spectacular on its own merits instead of, I mean, with Simu Liu saying this thing is basically, he's the first Asian action star, and I'm kind of looking, I'm just like Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee is like, what?
Yeah.
Jackie Chan's like, what? Chaplin Fat's like, what? Jet Li's like, excuse me. It's all of these, that we grew up seeing. But it's a shame that they kind of missed the mark of.
Well, I think someone in the chat had mentioned too that the father has more of somewhat more of an arc than Shang-Chi. So when you think about it, he's this all powerful guy. He meets the love of his life, and he's going there to take over the village, to get all the power of the village and decimate it. Instead of doing that like he's done with any other village, he falls in love with her. And you have that beautiful courtship scene, and then he goes to live as a normal person. He gives up the rings. I don't know why he wouldn't have bodyguards or a better house. If he's been one of the big assassins in the world, but. He's kind of living a normal life. And then when she gets killed, that's his character arc. But Shang-Chi is more of just kind of escaping his dad, but they're not showing his dad, like you said, as a really horrible person during those years, because he had grown up with his dad, other than the training, how bad was, they're not showing, what he's done that was so hard. He's almost portrayed as kind of like a guy behind the scenes manipulating political, they show overthrowing governments, but they're not showing, all the ins and outs of what he's done in that, that opening montage. So I thought his dad, and then of course, the redemption at the end. I guess it's a standard story, storytelling where guy goes bad, goes good, goes bad again. It goes, in the end, he's got a redeeming arc at the end. And the rings also too. We didn't talk about that. The rings aren't, the rings from the comics. So we've got, instead of the Mandarin, we've got Trevor Slattery as the fake Mandarin, which was, funny, but we never got to see. Someone else mentioned in the chat, we never got to see Iron Man fighting the Mandarin with the real 10
that's
rings.
What I wanted to see, actually.
He is no man. I mean, look, a great actor, Tony, and all that stuff. He's just as fake a Mandarin as Slattery, as far as I'm concerned. He's nothing like the character. The 10 rings are 10 bangles, 10 bracelets. They're not the 10 rings. They don't have anywhere close to the Mandarin's origin at all. And I know that's comic book geek complaint 101. I get it. That's geeking out. But it's ridiculous what they've done to the character of the Mandarin. But they'll probably do it even worse to Dr. Doom. So, there you go.
Ooh, please, no.
Dr. Doom.
Did you know how long I've been waiting for a legit Dr. Doom, man? Come on.
Well, Dr. Doom's going to be a plastic surgeon. He'll be able to fix his own face, right? Yeah. No.
that was that last one. Yeah.
No.
They did cast a guy from Nip Tuck.
That's what I was. That was my joke. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a minute. What do you mean he?
Oh, right. This is the MCU, so it's probably going to be some chick.
No,
Valerie.
So here, Dr. Doom will be a guy who got his power after he found some. He found a Tony Stark suit somewhere. That's how he took power.
Nobody's using it, so.
Yeah, he took a Tony Stark suit from
Spider-Man's going to train.
He took over Latveria.
Yeah, because before it was the MCU, it was really Stark U, because everything they based Stark created Ultron, which I hated, even though I liked the movie. I hated that it was Stark, and a lot of things are this is the whole Stark. And he's fine in this universe, but it's really the Starkverse, because everything comes from Iron Man in this. Even when the MCU was the MCU when it was good, so.
But Robert Downey Jr. is a force of nature, so they kind of went with.
He's great. I like it.
No, but I could see why they shifted things, and then But if we had gotten Hank Pym would have been a fan. Had that whole arc. Instead we get Michael Douglas, as an older scientist. So, I was always hoping that the Fantastic Four, kind of appear like we get a period piece and they were stuck in the past, or somehow, had been, stuck and then come to the future, but we'll probably not get that. But
I know. Let's see. Dread Pirate Mikey says, what do we even know about Shang-Chi other than he is a bit of a loser? One of the parts that I didn't like was they didn't show Shang-Chi going on that assassin mission. You didn't see that. You didn't see what happened. You didn't see if whether he choked and didn't do it or did it and couldn't live with himself. And his father's like, I don't care where he is, you need to go find him. You don't fail me like that. And you don't see that exposition leading up to him in present day, where he's probably being a bit of a loser because he genuinely feels like one. But we see all that action before that, where we know he's not a loser, just crap happened and he just can't freaking deal with it right at that point in time. But they don't write that. Those are things that make you want to glom onto the character.
And for another reference, you got to check out Ninja Assassin from about 2009. It has almost that same arc, beat for beat, but you do get to see him go on that first assassination mission.
The only line you got in the movie, I thought that when his father, when they capture him, and he stands there, he's like, "Oh, I knew my guys wouldn't be able to kill you," or something to that effect, which kind of was the only praise he got. And then you realize what he's supposed to be, this ultimate, the best martial artist in the the Marvel universe. So that you're right, though, that would have been a cool scene to have, or leave you on a cliffhanger, not knowing what he actually did. But I guess they wouldn't want to show you him killing who was his mom's killer? Or
wasn't he? They didn't want to show a 14-year-old killing anyone, I guess, because he was 14 when he killed him, right?
Yeah, he was very young when he was sent out. Yeah, because he lived. He said he lived for what, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
and they changed his name. It's like, you changed your name to Sean from Shang. But so that was the joke. Yeah.
There's ways around that.
Right.
There's so many. There's ways around. There's. I don't want to give any writers any ideas, because shoot, if it shows up in a movie, you need to pay me freaking royalties. But trust me, any smart writer or group of writers stuck in a room with enough cigarettes and Chick-fil-A, you figure out a way around that one. Shoot. Yeah, this is another thing that I wanted to bring up before we talk about the martial arts. I didn't buy Shang-Chi and Awkwafina together either. I'm like, are y'all roommates or what? Because there was zero sex appeal there, and I wasn't buying it.
Well, they're supposed to be. That's what I was talking about.
Well, they weren't selling it either, though.
No.
They weren't selling it. We weren't supposed to buy it. Yeah.
I mean, at the end, I guess she puts her head on his shoulder.
It's weird
at
that
the
they
end,
have that there and not.
It's like it's not the usual of
But they do very
hero guy, dorky girl. They go through stuff, but you actually can tell that there's some kind of romantic tension between the two of them. They couldn't figure out what the heck was going on with this. No, not here.
Well, leave the romance out. That ruins a lot of movies anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, we can't have that. We can't have.
Or if they do it and they mess it up, or like Moonlighting was always classic when David and Maddie were not together as a couple.
Tension, though.
That tension, though, yeah. But I'm saying you don't want to ruin that. Sometimes the tension is better in general in a movie than actually when the characters finally get to. Yeah, I didn't. Well, maybe they didn't write it there. I didn't see it. I didn't see them as a couple either. But then my buddies and I were talking after. It's like, were they supposed to be a couple or not a couple? Or they went out to the restaurant. That restaurant scene was funny in the end when Wong shows up and they're like, you're crazy, they're describing what their adventures were, and then all of a sudden Wong shows up with a portal. Come with me.
It didn't. I didn't buy it that it was, they're just friends and then eventually they fall in love. They didn't play that part out. It was just kind of like they're there. Are they together? Are they not together? Maybe not together. Okay, whatever. There just wasn't any. They just didn't really do anything with it.
Well, like the grandmother.
They're together.
Yeah, the grandmother says, "When are you getting married?" It's like at the lunch scene or whatever. Yeah,
and they're kind of like, "Why?"
What?
I'm glad I wasn't the only person who thought that. It just looked weird. Not like, hey, she's really pretty. You should get with her. No, she's my friend. I wouldn't think like that. And it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe what kind of, but at least they didn't do anything like that. It's just, Uh, well, I like sex appeal in my movie. Sorry, that's just me. That's just me. That's just me. So I'm gonna get to the last part before we ask the final question. What did you all think of the martial arts in this film? And I really want to hear from Reggie first on this one.
So much pressure.
No pressure, no pressure, no
Nah,
pressure
Yeah,
points.
Russia.
I'm totally kidding. For a mainstream Hollywood movie, I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, it's better than Mortal Kombat. It's better than Snake Eyes. It's better than Black Widow. Um, some of the framing and the editing didn't really serve it that well toward the middle. I think it started out strong and just sort of gradually got weaker throughout. The flashback scenes were really good. Whoever played Young Shang, the actor, performer, the martial artist, was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the guy who plays Death Dealer is amazing. That guy can do like 720 double kicks and like crazy. Andy Lee, but it just it started out good and just kind of gradually got weaker. And my biggest problem with this movie is the expectation with a martial arts film. You have a bad, tough, drag out, one-on-one fisticuffs battle at the end. And, these guys are just shooting magic bolts at each other, and you got kind of a weightless CGI fest of magic dragons and soul suckers. And I was just like, this is not really what I came to see here. I came to see fisticuffs here. I want to see people get punched and kicked in the face. And they took that from us, especially at the end.
Yes. And that's why I was saying at the beginning of this, it should have been a smaller type of a Daredevil type Netflix show or something where it would have been more about the fighting than Kung Fu. And I knew nothing about Kung Fu, so I can't even comment on whether it was good or not. It was entertaining enough, but you knew it was also a Marvel fantasy type film, and they were going to treat it as such. And you were going to have some Kung Fu, then you were going to have some crazy superhero type custom fights like that. But I really see what you're saying there, and it should be more of a street level type of a thing on a TV show, smaller.
Right.
This character.
Yeah.
But you can even do hand-to-hand combat and still have it be fantastical. I mean, that's what the wuxia genre is all about. I mean, you have, gods of Kung Fu and who fight each other, but they're still fighting. They're not just like magic. Yeah. Here's a creature, magic. It's just like, you have to appeal to the base of the martial arts genre, and that's martial arts choreography. It's wushu, it's kung fu, it's karate, taekwondo, judo, jiu-jitsu. It's those things being done skillfully by your actors, and we didn't get that at the end.
Well, yeah, I think you got your best scene. I think everyone would agree would be the bus scene in terms of martial arts and fighting. And then I think, when you're the scene of the courtship, when the Mandarin goes and he's got the 10 rings, you're like, how the heck is the the mom or how is she going to even, fight this guy? So using the power of the village and that whole scene was fantastic. But then when you get to the end of the movie, how is Shang-Chi going to compete with someone who's got the 10 rings? So I guess he's got some of the powers of his mom. He's using the powers of the village, but then you like you said, he takes 5 of the rings away, and it becomes. It would have maybe been cooler if he actually defeated him without taking any of the rings, and just to show using his mom's power and what his mom taught him. And that really beautiful flashback where she whispers to him, and you find out what she whispers to him in the end. And that's, getting that inner strength, and then, but actually using the power of the dragon, who's a great protector, to defeat the man, and then taking the rings from him in the end. But I guess what they decided to do was have his dad sacrifice himself from the soul eater and pass the rings to, the remaining rings to, or I guess at that point, did he have all the rings? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think he did by that time.
Yeah, but so they wanted, I think, have that redemption arc for the dad, instead of keeping the dad as a big bad. You wanted to have him like that Darth Vader moment where his, dad, says, I'm, passing on, my legacy to you, and then, you take it from here. So but I thought the action was, was good. Action was well done. The CGI was good. Of course, Ben Kingsley or Steve Trevor, he's in the field playing dead. You think he's dead, and that was a funny moment where he's like, no, when Wallace comes up to, he's like, no, just pretend to be dead. I'm, the typical character. Yeah, I'm not a part of this fight. Forget it. And I know people, I guess, criticize Katie or Aquafina for taking the magic shot. Learning archery in 3 days and taking the shot, which we could take. One day, of course, she's learning from beings. So
that just gave me a flashback from Game of Thrones, with the Ice King. It just did.
Well, at least she had a bow and arrow. When she took out the Ice King, she came from where? From she had web shooters and she swung in to kill. She come kill the Ice King. I don't know, but I guess they were going for maybe a little bit of the Harry Potter fantasy, mystical.
So
at the end, all the creatures.
Yeah, like the Hail Mary shot.
Right.
Yeah, and all the mythical creatures come out, and again, like Game of Thrones, are riding a darn dragon. I thought it was going to breathe fire, too, and it kind of like took me out of that. And like Reggie was saying, with kung fu movies, it's less of the magical mythical creature things, and it's more about fisticuffs. What's going on?
You got kaiju fight in the end. Yeah,
I know, it's exactly it.
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
But I was entertained by it. But if you're looking for
the
CGI
action
was amazing. The CGI was amazing.
Oh yeah,
but that's not what I came for.
You wanted more kung fu. Yeah, you wanted to punch that Soul Eater out or somehow, or do something. Yeah.
Now, if the Soul Eater and the dragon were doing kung fu, okay, I might like. See, I watch that, but then again, that's a kaiju movie. It's not, it's not a. It's when. Let me get the super chat really quick. Stephen Yarnell for $4.99. Thank you so very much. Says, great stream. Glad to know I wasn't the only one disappointed with rom-com Beta Chi. Thanks, Lorena. you're welcome. I really was disappointed with that. They for whatever reason, I guess it's again part of this thing with the MCU that I'm noticing. It's like the romantic tension between characters is gone. I mean, you can't have, the Black Widow, Tony Stark kind of tension going on. You can't have that anymore.
The only tension we got was Black Widow, that dinner scene when, the two, when, what was it? Crimson, that was hysterical. And she's like, you guys go find a room. I guess
it was so cringe and funny.
It was kind of fun. I'm like, wow, they're actually flirting with each other.
Still look good.
Still look good after 40 years. Whatever. That was the best scene in that movie. I thought,
the man.
The dinner scene,
it was.
Yeah, I know. For me, I honestly have to say, I probably, I would actually watch Shang-Chi before I watch Black Widow again.
I like this better than Black Widow.
And of course, way before I would watch Captain Marvel again. So that brings me up to the question. Does this seem like an MCU film to you? Why or why not?
Yes.
Okay, why?
It does. It does because they always have just the jokiness. The Marvel formula is like, okay, let's build up, let everybody get scared a little bit. Let's bring the tension. Here comes a joke. If it's, if it wasn't Ben Kingsley, it was Razor Fist, who's great in Creed 2, by the way. Oh yeah, he's Victor Drago. He's Ivan Drago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I haven't seen Creed yet. So wow.
So they make a point, and they was like, oh, are we gonna have to like join forces and fight the evil soul suckers together? Well, I guess we will. Ha ha ha. It's like, oh, did we need that though? I'm just kind of, and that's been the Marvel formula for a long time. It's like, let's bring that bathos and undercut the tension with the joke. And that takes me out of these movies, honestly.
Well, I think you saw that with Ragnarok, and I'm a longtime Thor comic book reader. I've been reading them for 30 plus years, and I love the popularity of Thor in a way. Like, wow, I'm in a movie theater and people are watching a movie about Thor. How the hell did this happen? But then when the Ragnarok came out, I mean,
Yeah.
they overdid the comedy, and you know, he's such a great actor, Hemsworth.
Yeah.
But the comedy was just, you could have a couple of few moments here and there, and Loki, you know, is just you know, his character's fun, but just the joke, you know, making you know, Fat Thor, the, you know, the butt of jokes, you know, it's just it went on. It's too long, and it's a note you want to hit. Yeah, it's like you know, it's and it's one thing, you know, it's like almost like the Star Trek 5, you know, syndrome, where 4 was you know, had all that great comedy, and 5 said let's try to do it, and they took it to another level, and just, you know, most of the time missed the mark. So it's, you know, it's definitely you know, a Marvel movie. Then of course I think they threw Wong in there to try to give him a tie to the Marvel universe, and who, I don't know what the next movie is going to be about. It ends on that, you know, extra scene where Wong is taking him and Kate. I don't know why Katie's going with them, as much as I enjoyed the character.
That.
But it's, well, why, you know, she's not a superhero. Why is she?
No,
you know,
why is she there?
She's like super sidekick. It's not, you know, Batman and Robin.
Should have been like, no, you go through that thing. I've had enough.
You know, I might die here, but we'll take you. You know, why is she going? But you know, I guess it's the, you know, the comedy and the, you know, and I guess part of it, I don't know if we didn't really touch on a lot, but you know, trying to get this movie to be to open in China and to make money, and you know, in China and foreign markets, and maybe some of the jokes that they threw in, and and I guess Kevin Feige had done a long interview about how the movie respected Chinese culture, and you know, had a long press junket to try to, I guess, change some minds to get to open, but apparently it didn't work. I guess as far as I know, it still hasn't opened in China, correct? Or
it hasn't been approved.
I don't think so.
It has not been approved to open in China, so it may not even get there. And part of the reason that I think that is because the movie seems like pandering to them.
They don't want our stuff. They don't want us to sell them themselves.
Exactly. Because the thing that I try to explain to people is like, Asian cinema has a long history. When I was a kid, I would watch Kung Fu theater on the weekends. You know, would watch black food movies like with Jim Kelly. I'd watch those on, you know, DVD, and my like uncle, and because they would haul those out all the time. You had The Last Dragon, you had Romeo Must Die, which was like urban hip hop and, you know, martial arts together in the same movie. Asian cinema was like a staple to watch. It was nothing, you know, nothing new. They have this strong Asian cinema already. Foreign markets want to see American movies. China wants to see American style movies. It's like they're trying to out Chinese the Chinese. And I'm just like, no, because I'm looking and I'm like, I've seen better Asian movies. I've seen Asian movies that do this much, much, much better. So I think that's why it hasn't. I wouldn't claim it, but.
Well, like Steve Mitchum was on with Klob, you know, we're talking about this movie, and then, you know, he's a martial arts expert in Kung Fu, and I'm like, there was this movie I remember as a kid I really loved, and he knew I described some scenes. It's Master Killer, the 36th Chamber of Shaolin, you know, like old time, you know, and he's training, he's training, like that's a classic, you know, Kung Fu movie. But of course, with Disney and Marvel and MCU, I mean, I didn't go into the movie expecting, you know, hardcore Kung Fu movie anyway. You know, Reggie's right. Maybe you want to see that, and I'm not disagreeing with them, but you know, you're not going to get that. Maybe, you know, as Stephen Yarnell mentioned, you know, that Daredevil scene in the hallway, that incredible fight scene. You know, you're probably not going to get, you know, you're not going to get that in a mainstream movie. Like I guess Clobbering is saying, you know, hey, if we had this as a, you know, miniseries or you know, Netflix series or whatever, or now it's Disney Plus. Maybe they could have gone more hardcore and have him more as a street level character, which fits in more. But I think to, you know, get that wide audience, they went for the fantasy, and you know, they really changed up his character. And I mean, I enjoyed the movie, I had a good time, but it's not, you know, this Shang-Chi from the comics, and it's and he's not, you know, an incredible you know, lead, like, oh God, this guy's, you know, like when you see, you see Chris Hemsworth, you see, you know, Robert Downey Jr., you know, was a good actor before, obviously, but when he's an Iron Man, he just lights up the screen as Iron Man. And that character is just just phenomenal. I mean, it's just so well done. So and it, could be the actor can only do what he's got with the writing, but sometimes they add that extra spark. I was just watching the Back to the Future documentary about how they started the movie. It wasn't they switched leagues. It was it was the redhead guy who was the original lead. I'm drawing a stream brain here, but they switched. The movie wasn't working, so they switched out to Michael J. Fox, and then everything clicked and it worked. So even though it was the same script and everything, Eric Stoltz, yeah, and he was actually was trying to play the movie as a tragedy. They brought in Michael J. Fox, and he added the comedy. So sometimes that actor can really elevate material.
Right. Trying to see. I saw someone comment that I want to address really quick. Stephen Yardnell says it did seem like they threw Wong in just because he was Asian, kind of racist. No, I think it's more of like they were just trying to pander to Chinese audiences. I would have liked if Doctor Strange shown up. Yeah, it makes logical sense that's the audience that you're catering to or you're trying to cater to. So you bring him in, but I think they kind of they did it very ham-fisted.
Yeah, they didn't explain why he needed. He says you have the 10 rings. He said yes. He should have said like we need you to close a hole in the do something or some mission with it that you needed the rings for. That would have made a little bit of sense. And that whole scene with Abomination was just it's fun fan I guess fan stuff that maybe if I was directing a movie, writing a movie, maybe I'd throw that in there for fun. But it doesn't make sense with the plot.
No, it just needed something, some kind of breadcrumb that would make you connect Shang-Chi with what's going on with the universe that Wong is from. And he's kind of like just showed up. I got my money and we out.
He needed sandwich money after Doctor Strange brought it from him.
Maybe that's why he's fighting Abomination. Right. So Wong was throwing fights, or Abomination was giving him the kickback money to get sandwiches. Yeah.
Now, see if they would have said that would have been cool. If
that would have been a good line, right?
That would have been a good line.
Let's not get my ideas for the next movie. Yeah.
Yeah, Black Superwoman. I agree. Jet Li sold me on him and Ali, and they didn't even kiss on screen. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Hey, Pod Racing Palpatine. Any more thoughts about if this is supposed to be a MCU movie? I know we heard from Reggie. What about you, Mark? What about you, Clobberin Times?
Yeah, I think it's. I'll let Mike, Clobberin go after. But I think it definitely was an MCU movie. Fits in. They're trying to shoehorn a couple of things, like you said, like the Wong appearance. But it's their, as Reggie said, it's the formula they've got going. And I don't know what the box office is up to now, but of course with what we're going through, numbers are down. But I guess it, and then of course you can get into what the act. I just can't stand when actors attack fans or go after fans, or he had that tweet where I guess maybe in a way you're gloating and you're saying suck at everyone. I guess it did make enough money, but it just doesn't go over well when you go. You could say you do it in a nice way, like, oh, I'm glad a lot of people went to see the movie and yada yada yada, instead of like hammering people.
Yeah, now he's gonna get review bombed.
Yeah.
How did the cars get through the forest? Oh, from the double-butted Ottoman, footstool with the wings, because he used the force to get him through the forest. Honestly, you think I'm kidding, but that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, or then a map that is that. How does Dad memorize that map so quickly? I'm like, they show that they get the two jewels and they put in the dragon's eyes, and it comes up with this. And that was cool special effects, but then they show you the path. I'm like, man, he's got a good memory, and he's really old. His memory must be really good. I'm like, I couldn't remember that path.
No, because that was just crazy, and the forest will eat you. So you have to be careful with all of that. I believe it. Of course, it is an MCU film because obviously they connected, the Doctor Strange universe, through Wong. So obviously that's Multiverse of Madness. Obviously, that's part of the MCU. If it could have felt like more of an MCU film than it did. I think it relied a little bit too much on the mythical creatures. Like there wasn't that like strong fisticuffs action going on at the end. And also, and not that it's the fault of the film, but it may be just when they decided to put it together. We haven't seen Shang-Chi before. It's not like he was a character that was like, say, in Endgame or in Infinity War, or if he did, like a cameo in Civil War or something like that. So it's like we haven't seen him in anything else. And I think that's what's throwing it off, for me, like Black Widow. Okay, I can buy that because I've seen her through several of the MCU movies. Black Panther, have seen him already in one of the MCU movies before he got his own origin story. Captain Marvel is well, there's that. Not really much I could say that way. I really wish that in a way it would have been more Marvel if they were going to go that way, instead of kind of not being true to a martial arts form. And they could have done both. I really, really believe that they could have done both. And it seems like they tried to do both and failed. It's not a bad film. It's, it's fun to watch. It's not a bad film, but I find myself criticizing a lot of it after a while seeing it.
That's the thing with the Marvel movies, though. A lot of the story is written well in advance of them having directors, before having cast put together. They have, previs on a number of the set pieces already in the can, basically, before they even get going with, real filmmaking. So,
right.
Yeah. I mean, that third act was probably the first creative step taken by the creative team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think some of the directors, like Patty Jenkins, dropped out of a movie, and I think they don't have the creative control, like they do normally as a director. They kind of handed the template and said go with it. So, I mean, the one maybe that broke the mold was Guardians of the Galaxy. I never thought that would be a good movie. From reading the comics, I'm like, how the hell is this going to work or be a good movie? And that was such a fun movie.
That was one where I hadn't even heard of Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm like, I don't want to see this movie. I don't know any of these characters. And then I went to see it because I saw Endgame. I'm like, okay, I have to watch this Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and flipping loved it. Absolutely immediate buy-in, with the characters, especially the Trash Panda.
Yeah, and they throw in that soundtrack, and it's just like, it was almost like for me, like seeing not as good as Star Wars, obviously, but like that kind of experience where you get kind of blown away by a movie, like seeing Star Wars as a kid in '77, and you're just like, the ship comes in, and that was such a fun movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, and with the soundtrack and all that, and you're not expecting anything to be, You're like, wow, God, James Gunn did an awesome job. How are they going to have a raccoon with a machine gun? How are they going to make that work? And a tree that says "I am Groot." How's that going to work? And the comics were good, but not not a runaway hit. So with the right script and the right talent, Star-Lord's a big hero now, right? So big, superstar.
Yeah.
So. I'd like to see him play Indiana Jones. God bless Harrison Ford, but
he's getting up there. He's
in great shape for his age. But,
but he just kind of needs a part where he can just chill. He can just chill and just be. Okay, guys. So if you had to rate this movie on a scale from 1 to 10, what would you give it? We'll we'll start with clobbering times first and go up from there.
I guess I would probably give it about maybe a 4, something like that. Maybe a 5. I'll go with a 5. I guess it has some entertaining moments here and there. I just don't really get interested in any of the characters that much. Again, he's not the master of kung fu because they don't call him that. It's not the way I want Shang-Chi done, the way I would like to see him done at all. I completely I'm not engaged at all in the kind of story they put him in. I just don't think it works for that character. I think that everything about it is a mess. So I guess just for having some entertainment value, I guess go 5. I was at 4 for a second, but I'll go to 5 because I guess you could have a little fun watching it. But it was as a fan of the character, a disappointment for me.
I gotcha.
But that's comic book geek stuff. Most people
Yeah.
don't, don't
Oh,
care
I
about the
get
stuff,
you. I get you. Mark, what's
Yeah.
your rating?
Well, I really had a great time with the movie. I gave it a high rate on my show. If you're rating it, Klobby is just as a comic book geek and expecting Shang-Chi and a ton of kung fu, you're not getting that original comic book story. But
Mhm.
I gave it like I'd say like around an 8. I think I had fun. The lead is lacking in my mind, but I love all the the comedic stuff, and maybe we shouldn't have as much of that. And part of it is just God, it was so good to be in a IMAX theater again and see that screen come up. And I had a good, and I think that bus scene was just phenomenal. I love the building scene. So some of the set pieces were really good. I can, I want to be fair to a movie, and I can see it's always good to be able to talk to people and not argue or and have a great conversation about what you liked or didn't like. So that's why shows like this I think are really good. And when people can say like Mike, you kind of ruined a few movies for me by pointing out some of the things I didn't see before.
I'm sorry.
Like, I didn't notice that. Wait a minute, that was
I'm the destructor.
Destructor. Like, that's a damn good point. I should have thought of that before.
I'm sorry,
but,
party pooper.
But that's okay. But I had fun, and if you're expecting a realistic Shang-Chi from the comics, which most people really don't know, you're not gonna get that. But I thought the supporting cast was phenomenal, and some of those set pieces and scenes I thought were really well done. So I as a popcorn movie, I had fun and I had a good time. But I can see I can see some of the criticism, especially the way the lead is written, and maybe his charisma or lack thereof, which Reggie I thought really explained really well.
Reggie, your rating?
I'm gonna go a little bit below Mark. I'll give it a 7, just because it started out so strongly. It's up there with all of the solo MCU movies, to a degree, until the third act, and then that's where it just completely fell apart for me. So, in terms of the actual runtime of the film, I was largely good to greatly entertained until like the last 45 minutes. And that's where it just kind of lost me. That aside, I mean, it would have been a much higher rating if they could have kept the momentum they started with.
Right. Yeah, this is why I'm a DC fan full, and I'm dabbling into DC. Suicide Squad. It just, I don't know. I didn't like the Suicide Squad. Throw pies at me, but I actually liked Suicide Squad a little better. But oh god. Anyway, Snyder Cut. Yeah, that was fun to watch. I really I enjoyed the hell out of the Snyder Cut. Thought that was cool. As for me, I'll rate it 1 above what I gave Black Widow, and that would be a 6. Because I just see that they could have done just so much better than they did. The main character isn't leading. The lead character isn't leading with respect to character development and all of that. So it's a nice popcorn movie. I'll sit back and I will, and I'll watch it again. Definitely love the bus scene. That was written extremely well. And I almost want to say it seems like they blew a lot of their creative energy on that and the flashback scenes like with his mother. But they just could have done better with this, and it's a shame. And like I said, when I find myself rooting more for the magical characters than the humans, there's something off. So hopefully, if we see this character again, they will write him much better. I'm assuming, looking at just, the post-credit scene, which unfortunately Captain Marvel was in.
God,
Uh,
can she kill a scene or what in 15 seconds?
Goodness, it's just
I didn't
like,
get to see that. I didn't get to see that.
I mean, I'm not a fan of Bruce Banner. At least
Didn't see that either.
Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner. I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of his. But I would much rather listen to him than listen to Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. But it looks like this is going to go right into the Multiverse of Madness. That movie, I'm excited about seeing. I hope they don't screw it up, but something tells me that they're
Is that coming out? Is that coming out before Spider-Man, or what's the release order?
After
Spider-Man's December, isn't it?
Spider-Man's December. I think this is, I want to say, close to May.
Okay.
I think because that's when the summer box office kicks.
So maybe
kicks off.
Spider-Man I guess from the trailer it looks like Doctor Strange or something goes wrong with the spell. So maybe that leads into the Multiverse of Madness somehow. I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
That's when I'm.
Call.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we get to see some mutants soon. Some real mutants.
Yep.
Oh, the Eternals. I don't know. Again, this is another Marvel property or comic in the comics that I know nothing about.
Well, the trailers I saw were the Eternals and Dune, and the Eternals trailer was just boring. It
was horrible.
It's
wasn't
not a good. I mean, I didn't think the trailer for Shang-Chi was good, but the Eternals trailer is just like they have a couple of lame jokes. Like, oh, I could lead the Avengers, and it's the Dune trailer looked cool though. The Dune trailer looked really well done.
Oh man, you can't compare anything to Dune though. That's not fair, man.
I know, but like Eternals, it's like. It was just such a lame ass trailer.
It's just like you didn't even try with the Eternals trailer. That it was kind of just like, okay, so I saw the Eternals trailer, which put me to sleep. Yeah. I saw the Dune trailer, which looked awesome. And then I saw the trailer for Jackass Forever and was laughing my ass off. I'll wholeheartedly admit I'm looking forward to seeing Jackass Forever. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad that you guys decided to join me for this. This was just too much fun. Always love getting together with you guys on a stream. So I'll tell you what, why don't we go around, you guys let the folks in the chat know what you have coming up pretty soon. Clobberin, you want to go out on first and we'll go around counterclockwise?
Well, in about a little over an hour, little less than an hour on 9 p.m. Central Time, and we've been celebrating the Star Trek's birthday. Today is the 55th birthday of Star Trek. Real Star Trek only, of course, is what we do on the channel. And a wonderful first officer, Raquel Briggs, and I will be counting down our favorite episodes, top 25 favorite episodes of Star Trek, the original series tonight. And, obviously every Saturday night we do our regular show with Star Trek, Saturday Night Star Trek, where we review, and reveal actually. We're reviewing all of Real Trek, Lorena. 66 through 05, nothing else counts as Real Trek. So we're reviewing it all, and now we're in the second season of The Next Generation. Pray for us.
Oh wow,
it's tough. We're getting through it. We do four episodes a week. We're getting through it now.
Hang in there.
We're gonna do all the shows. We're doing all the shows.
Wesley's still on.
Yeah, Wesley's still on there. Oh boy, yeah, it's not easy, but we're doing it.
Oh man, yeah. I miss that era of Trek so much. Oh, so Mark, what you got going on?
Sure. Thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure being on here, and I do a lot of 3D printing and making and comics all thrown in together. So I've been doing a late night Sunday stream, and Clobberin Times has been on there with me. So I've been trying to keep that Sunday show going. We had Steve Mitchum on with us, and Arwen Avalon, which is great to have on. So kind of
nice.
Sunday night geekery and just to hang out. No topic, but just having fun with some friends and talking about stuff. So try to keep that going. And I'm going to start doing some videos on toy reviews, shorts on, maybe a toy a day or toys from the attic, I'll call it. Got way too much stuff and love, sharing what I have and talking about just different, pieces in the collection. I was on your show a little bit a few months ago, showing some of the stuff they have, or as I call it, my wife says the junk, but
I have to have another show like that because I don't know if people saw the live stream that I did Saturday from Universal. Okay, so Universal has Marvel Superhero Island, right? And from
Yep.
what someone told
Ah.
me, all the facades looks like the Silver Age of Marvel. So I went in one of the collector
Nice.
boutiques that they had. Dude, the
Wow.
stuff that they had in there.
I brought some stuff back from my trip there. Yeah, which is a crazy thing because I guess Universal had the rights to Marvel before Disney bought Marvel. So I
Yeah.
guess they can't. There's something I guess
Right.
they can't have any Marvel attractions across this side of the Mississippi. I think
Yeah,
So
they can't.
but it was fun. I was there with my kids years ago, and you met Captain America, had a picture with Captain America, so all the heroes are
Mhm.
walking around. It was Universal was a ton of fun there.
It was just too much fun. Yeah, when I was filming it, they had like Captain America, but it's like unlike Disney, which kind of just has just merch kind of hanging out there. Here, like in Universal, they have actual freaking collectibles and stuff. So one of these
Yeah, my
days, you
wife
guys will
wife
break
pulled
it
me out
down.
of that shop. She said, we're leaving now.
You have to will yourself to leave. I mean, I was filming something. I said, "Oh, that's Mark Ruffalo. He signed, an issue with Incredible Hulk." And somebody in my chat says, "Is that a number one?" I'm like, "Oh crap! Yeah, actually, it is." Actually, it is.
Wow.
So I'm gonna have to get some footage and have you guys break that down one day. Never ask a Slytherin what we think unless you like your feelings hurt. Hydrate. Yeah, that's how we are, right? That's exactly how we are. Well, thank you, DJ Vito. I so do appreciate that. So, Reggie, what do you have going on? Let people know about.
I feel like a lot, but nothing I can talk about too much. I have a lot of creative stuff. Some music that I am currently writing and hoping to record soon. I have a short film that's coming that I've already filmed. I've been in post for a while, and I'm really close to finishing up. So you guys can throw your tomatoes at that whenever that's out. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I have going on. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot. That's a heck of a lot to begin with. So awesome. Well, folks, I know. Well, first of all, before I forget, my girl Mary Mayhem is streaming. I thought she was streaming tonight at 9. I guess she started. I guess she started earlier, or I got the time screwed up. So please do go over and raid Mary Mayhem's channel. She has her Wednesday night Mayhem showing going on, and actually, they're talking Shang-Chi too. Actually, so hashtag Lorena Raid. Go on over there and tell her that I sent you. Also, tomorrow, speaking of Mary Mayhem, usually we have the Babe the Menace on her channel once a month. We're actually going to be rotating that among channels. And tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, the Babe the Menace will be on my channel, which will be Mary Mayhem, OG Star Wars, Mandy Summers, and Eris of Chaos, where we all get together and just talk about just the effed up stuff that's going on. And we just clown it. Especially there was some tweet where Amazon Prime said, what movie would you like to see rebooted with an all-female cast?
Ghostbusters.
That's what I said. But I said, can we do an all-male cast and reboot Ghostbusters? That's what I said. But we are just going to clown that among a whole bunch of other things. So hopefully you see that. No, Black Superwoman Mary is awesome. She thinks you're cool. I told her, I said, you have the same sense of humor I do. So she's like, oh, I like that. So, folks, thank you so very much for hanging out with me. And I especially want to say thanks to my panel. Thanks to you, Reggie. Thanks to you, Mark. Thanks to you, Clobbering Times. I always appreciate you guys' input, and it's always a great time. So, folks, if you're watching this on a replay, please do hit that like button. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next